1. We're diving into a true classic, the 1958 Edsel Pacer. This beauty is currently up for grabs on Craigslist for just $10,900. Can you believe it? Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. This Pacer is a two-door hardtop, which means you'll be cruising in style. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. It's the perfect combination of vintage charm and easy driving. The seller hasn't provided a ton of details about the condition, but with 87,000 miles on the odometer, it's safe to assume this car has seen some action over the years. The title is clean, so that's a big plus. I always aim to be straight with you guys, so I've got to admit, the seller didn't mention anything about the overall condition of the car. It could be in pristine shape, or it might need some TLC. That's just something to keep in mind if you're considering making a move on this Pacer. One thing's for sure, if the ad is still up, the car is still available. The seller made it clear that they don't want any help selling this item, so if you're interested, it's all on you to reach out and make an offer. All in all, this 1958 Edsel Pacer is a rare find. It's not every day you come across a classic like this at such an attractive price point. If you're ready to add a piece of automotive history to your collection, this might just be your chance. 2. We've got a sweet ride to talk about, a 1975 Chevrolet Camaro that's looking for a new home. This classic muscle car is up for grabs on Craigslist for a cool $13,000. First things first, let's talk about what makes this Camaro special. According to the seller, this is an all-original 75 Camaro, which means it's got that authentic vintage vibe. It's rocking a straight-six engine under the hood, so while it might not have the raw power of a V8, it's still got plenty of get up and go. The seller says the car is in good condition, which is always a plus. The odometer reads 70,163 miles, so it's seen some action, but still has plenty of life left in it. The paint color is a classic red, which is exactly what you want to see on a Camaro. And with a clean title that's currently registered, you shouldn't have any issues with paperwork. Now, I always keep it real with you guys, so I've got to point out that the seller didn't provide a ton of details about the car's overall condition. Good can mean different things to different people, but based on the info we have, it seems like this Camaro is in solid shape. One thing to note, the seller is firm on that $13,000 price tag. If you're looking to negotiate, you might be out of luck, but if you're ready to drop that kind of cash on a classic muscle car, this could be your chance to own a piece of American automotive history. 3. We've got a unique find on Craigslist, a 1966 Ford two-door Custom that's sure to turn some heads. The seller is asking $9,150 for this classic ride, but they're open to offers, so there might be some wiggle room if you're interested. Now let's dive into the details. According to the seller, this 66 Ford was originally designed as a stripped-down model for the racetrack. Most of these cars were sold with big blocks and 4-speed transmissions, but this particular one was ordered with an automatic and a 289 V8 engine. It's a bit of a rare find, which makes it all the more intriguing. The seller believes the mileage shown on the odometer, 89,000 miles, is accurate. However, they're upfront about the fact that this car has had a hard life both inside and out. The paint is described as patina, which is a nice way of saying it's got some character. And the interior is said to be rip and tear, so it's definitely seen better days. But here's the thing, this car runs and drives excellently, according to the seller. It's got current tags and is even insured with Hagerty for $12,000, which suggests it's got some value despite its rough appearance. If you're looking for an entry-level classic car, this could be a great option. It's not going to be a show winner in its current state, but it's a solid starting point for someone who wants to get into the hobby. One thing to keep in mind, the seller is only accepting calls, no texts or emails. So if you're serious about making an offer, you'll need to pick up the phone and give them a ring. Overall, this 1966 Ford two-door Custom is a unique find with a lot of potential. It's got some rough edges, but that's part of the charm. If you're willing to put in some work, you could have a really cool classic car on your hands. 4. We've got a real gem to talk about. A 1972 Chevrolet Impala that's looking for a new home. This classic beauty is being offered on Craigslist for a cool $10,000. And let me tell you, it's got a lot going for it. First and foremost, let's talk about that engine. Under the hood, you'll find a 350 cubic inch V8, which is a legendary power plant in the Chevy lineup. Known for its impressive torque and smooth power delivery, this engine is the heart and soul of the Impala. With 8 cylinders and rear-wheel drive, this car is built for cruising down the highway in style. Now, the seller mentions that the car is in good condition, which is always a promising sign. However, they do note that the odometer has rolled over. This means that while the odometer currently shows 50,000 miles, the actual mileage is likely higher. But don't let that deter you. Many classic cars have seen their fair share of miles, and if they've been well maintained, they can still have plenty of life left in them. The seller didn't go into a ton of detail about the car's overall condition, so there could be some minor wear and tear that's not immediately apparent. It's always a good idea to ask for more photos and information if you're seriously interested in making an offer. You'll want to know things like the condition of the interior, the state of the undercarriage, and any recent repairs or maintenance that's been done. One thing to keep in mind is that the seller didn't mention anything about the car's history. Has it been in any accidents? Has it undergone any major repairs or modifications? These are important questions to ask, as they can give you a better sense of the car's overall condition and value. But even with those unknowns, there's no denying that this 1972 Chevrolet Impala is a head-turner. With its classic lines, powerful engine, and clean title, it's the kind of car that's sure to get attention wherever it goes. And at $10,000, it could be a solid investment for the right buyer. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's important to do your due diligence. Get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic, take it for a test drive, and make sure all the paperwork is in order before you sign on the dotted line. But if everything checks out, this Impala could be a dream come true for the right car enthusiast. Imagine cruising down the street in this classic American muscle car, turning heads and leaving a trail of envious onlookers in your wake. It's the kind of experience that every car lover dreams of. So what do you think, folks? Is this 1972 Chevrolet Impala worth taking a closer look at? Would you be willing to take a gamble on a car with some unknown history in exchange for the chance to own a piece of automotive history? 5. We've got a serious machine to talk about. A 1974 Chevrolet Camaro that's been built for the drag strip. This beast is up for sale on Craigslist for $10,000. And let me tell you, it's got some serious performance upgrades under the hood and throughout the chassis. First things first, let's talk about that engine. The seller mentions that it's got over $25,000 invested and puts out a whopping 800 horsepower. That's some serious muscle. They don't go into too much detail about the specific mods, but they do mention that it's got nitrous and a 400 turbo transmission. This thing is built for speed, no question about it. But the upgrades don't stop there. This Camaro has been fitted with an NHRA-approved 8-point roll cage, which means it's ready for some serious track duty. It's also got a 471-spool rear end with a Ford 9-inch housing and Mosher axles. And with 13.5-inch rear slicks and 4-wheel disc brakes, this car is ready to hook up and stop on a dime. Now, the seller says the car is in excellent condition, which is impressive considering the level of performance it's putting out. The odometer shows just 25,000 miles, but it's unclear if that's the original mileage or if it's been reset at some point. Either way, with the amount of work that's gone into this car, the mileage is less important than the overall condition. The paint color is listed as blue, but the seller didn't provide any photos, so it's hard to say exactly what shade it is or what kind of condition it's in. That's definitely something you'll want to see in person before making an offer. One thing to keep in mind is that a car like this is not going to be a comfortable daily driver. It's been built for a specific purpose, going fast in a straight line. If you're looking for a car to take on road trips or cruise around town in, this probably isn't the one for you. But if you're a serious drag racing enthusiast looking for a turnkey machine that's ready to tear up the track, this 1974 Chevrolet Camaro could be a dream come true. With its massive horsepower, hardcore chassis upgrades, and clean title, it's the kind of car that could be a serious contender at the Strip. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's important to do your due diligence. Get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic who knows their way around high-performance engines, and make sure all the paperwork is in order before you hand over any cash. But if everything checks out, this Camaro could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the right buyer. Imagine the adrenaline rush of staging up at the starting line, feeling the raw power of that engine as you launch down the track, and watching the competition disappear in your rearview mirror. It's the kind of experience that every drag racing fan dreams of. 6. We've got a unique find on Craigslist, a 1968 Chevrolet El Camino that's been sitting in an arcade for the past 20 years. That's right, you heard me correctly. This classic Chevy has been hanging out next to the pinball machines and air hockey tables for 2 decades. And now, it could be yours for just $10,000 or best offer. Now let's be real here. This El Camino is not in pristine condition. The seller is upfront about that, calling it a fair condition car. But hey, that's to be expected when a vehicle has been sitting around collecting dust for that long. The good news is, it's not a complete basket case. The seller says it starts, runs, drives, and stops, so you can actually enjoy it while you work on bringing it back to its former glory. Under the hood, you'll find a small block V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission. It's not a fire-breathing SS or a big block 396, but it should still have plenty of power to get you down the road with a smile on your face. The car also has a 10-bolt rear end, which is a solid choice for a classic Chevy. Now let's talk about what this El Camino doesn't have. According to the seller, it's missing some of the chrome trim pieces, which is a bummer if you're a stickler for originality. It also doesn't have air conditioning, a heater, or power brakes. But hey, it does have power steering, so that's a plus. The seller is asking $10,000 or best offer for this unique find, but they seem more interested in trading it for something else. They're not looking for boats, services, art, or furniture though, so if you've got a cool car or motorcycle to trade, this could be your chance to score a sweet deal. Of course, as with any project car, it's important to go into it with your eyes wide open. This El Camino is going to need some work to get it back to tip-top shape. But if you're a fan of classic Chevys and don't mind getting your hands dirty, this could be a really fun project to take on. One thing's for sure, this 1968 El Camino has a story to tell. Can you imagine the looks on people's faces when you roll up to a car show and tell them your ride used to live in an arcade? That's the kind of conversation starter that money can't buy. So what do you think, folks? Is this El Camino worth taking a gamble on? Would you be willing to trade something cool for it? 7. We've got a real gem to talk about, a 1984 Chevrolet Corvette that's been given a whole lot of love and attention. This classic sports car is up for sale on Craigslist for $10,000, and let me tell you, it looks like it's ready to hit the road and turn some heads. First things first, let's talk about that engine. Under the hood, you'll find a 5.7-liter 350 V8 that's sure to get your heart racing. But that's not all. This Corvette has also been fitted with a brand new 700R4 automatic transmission, which means you'll be able to cruise down the highway with ease. But the upgrades don't stop there. The seller has gone all out to make sure this Corvette is in top-notch condition. They've installed new rotors, calipers, brake pads, and a new master cylinder, so you can stop on a dime. They've also put in new KYB shocks on all 4 corners, which means you'll have a smooth and comfortable ride no matter where you go. And if you're worried about reliability, don't be. The seller has also installed a new starter and battery, and they've given the car a complete tune-up. Plus, they just had it smogged last week, so you know it's running clean and green. Now, let's talk about the interior. The seller says it's clean and in great shape, which is always a plus. And if you're a fan of open-air driving, you'll be happy to know that the rear hatch pops up and the top is removable. Imagine cruising down the coast with the wind in your hair and the sun on your face. It doesn't get much better than that. One thing that really stands out about this Corvette is the low mileage. With just 61,000 miles on the odometer, this car has a lot of life left in it. And with a clean title in the seller's name and registration until 2025, you won't have to worry about any paperwork headaches. The seller mentions that this Corvette was a family project, and it shows. They've put a lot of time and effort into making sure it's in excellent condition, and they've got the receipts to prove it. But now, it's time for them to move on to the next project, which means you could be the lucky new owner of this classic sports car. And if you're not looking to pay cash, the seller is open to trades. So if you've got something cool to offer up, this could be your chance to score a sweet deal. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before you sign on the dotted line. But based on the seller's description and the work that's been done, this 1984 Chevrolet Corvette seems like a solid investment for any car enthusiast. 8. We've got a real treat for you. A 1984 Cadillac Eldorado that's in absolutely stunning condition. This classic luxury car is up for grabs on Craigslist for just $6,235, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. First things first, let's talk about the overall condition of this Eldorado. The seller describes it as very, very clean cosmetically inside and out, and based on the photos, I have to agree. The red paint is absolutely gorgeous, and the vinyl top is in perfect condition. This car looks like it just rolled off the showroom floor, even though it's almost 40 years old. But it's not just a pretty face. This Eldorado is also mechanically sound. The seller says it starts, runs, and drives smoothly, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're buying a classic car. And with a clean Carfax and service records, you can feel confident that this car has been well maintained over the years. Now, let's talk about some of the features. The air conditioning is described as ice cold, which is a must-have for those hot summer days. And with a spacious interior and plenty of luxury amenities, you'll be riding in style no matter where you go. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine that's sure to turn heads. The seller does mention that there are a few minor leaks and electrical issues, but nothing that seems too concerning. And with the HT4100 motor, you know you're getting a reliable and efficient power plant. One thing to note is that the odometer has rolled over, so the actual mileage is likely higher than the 169,000 shown. But honestly, with a car that looks and runs this good, the mileage is just a number. The seller also mentions that this particular model of Eldorado is the same one that Robert De Niro's character was famously blown up in during the movie Casino. So if you're a fan of classic movies or just love a good piece of Hollywood history, this car could be a real conversation starter. Overall, this 1984 Cadillac Eldorado seems like an absolute steal at just $6,235. With its stunning good looks, smooth performance, and luxurious features, it's the kind of car that you'll be proud to show off at any classic car meet or cruise night. 9. We've got a real blast from the past to talk about. A 1962 Plymouth Valiant that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $9,000 for this classic compact car, and based on the description, it sounds like it could be a real gem. Now, I know what you might be thinking. $9,000 is a lot of money for a car that's almost 60 years old. But hear me out, because this Valiant seems to have a lot going for it. First and foremost, the seller describes the car as being in great condition. Now, I always take those kinds of claims with a grain of salt, but if it's true, then this Valiant could be a real find. The photos in the ad show a car that looks clean and well maintained, with a shiny exterior and a tidy interior. Under the hood, you'll find a slant 6 engine, which is a real selling point for Mopar fans. These engines are known for their durability and reliability, and they have a loyal following among classic car enthusiasts. If this Valiant's engine is in good shape, then it could be a real pleasure to drive. The seller also mentions that the car has an automatic transmission, which is a nice convenience feature. No need to worry about shifting gears or working a clutch pedal. Just put it in drive and go. Now, there are a few things that the seller doesn't mention in the ad that I would want to know more about. For example, they don't list the mileage on the car, which could be a red flag. And while they say the car is in great condition, they don't go into a lot of detail about any specific repairs or maintenance that's been done over the years. So if you're seriously interested in this Valiant, I would definitely recommend reaching out to the seller and asking for more information. They say they won't reply to emails, so you'll need to give them a call if you want to learn more. Overall though, this 1962 Plymouth Valiant seems like it could be a really cool classic car. It's got a great look, a desirable engine, and a clean title. And while $9,000 might seem like a lot of money, it's actually not too bad for a well-maintained classic like this. 10. We've got a real gem to talk about. A 1969 Dodge Coronet 440 that's been given some serious love and attention. This classic muscle car is up for grabs on Craigslist for $10,000, and let me tell you, it's got some impressive mods and upgrades that make it stand out from the crowd. First things first, let's talk about the engine. Under the hood, you'll find the original 318 small block, but don't let that fool you. This engine has been rebuilt and upgraded with some serious performance parts. We're talking an Edelbrock 4-barrel carburetor, Edelbrock heads, a whiplash cam, rockers, and springs, and new gaskets throughout. With only about 800 miles on the engine since the rebuild, this Coronet is ready to hit the road and turn some heads. But the upgrades don't stop there. This Coronet has also been fitted with a reliable A727 TorqueFlite 3-speed automatic transmission, which means you can cruise down the highway with ease. And with the stock rear-end axle and differential, you know you're getting a solid and dependable drivetrain. Now, let's talk about some of the custom mods that make this Coronet really stand out. The seller has installed door poppers on all 4 doors, which means you can remotely open them with the touch of a button. How cool is that? They've also added an aftermarket steering wheel and a Dakota digital dash, which gives the interior a modern and high-tech feel. But the mods don't stop there. This Coronet also has rear air adjustable shocks, which means you can fine-tune the ride to your liking. And with new vinyl interior on the seats front and rear, you'll be riding in comfort and style. Plus, with 40 series Flowmaster mufflers installed, this Coronet has a throaty and aggressive exhaust note that's sure to turn heads. One thing to note is that the seller doesn't mention anything about the overall condition of the body or the paint. The photos show a custom paint job, but it's hard to tell from the ad how well it's been maintained over the years. As always, it's a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a purchase. Overall though, this 1969 Dodge Coronet 440 seems like a real winner. With its impressive engine upgrades, custom mods, and solid drivetrain, it's the kind of car that any muscle car enthusiast would be proud to own. And at $10,000, it seems like a fair price for a classic ride with this much potential. 11. We've got a real classic to talk about, a 1965 Plymouth Valiant that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $6,500 for this vintage beauty, and based on the description, it sounds like it could be a real gem. First things first, let's talk about the overall condition of this Valiant. The seller describes it as being in good condition, which is always a promising sign for a car that's almost 60 years old. They mention that the body, interior, and engine are all clean, which suggests that this Valiant has been well maintained over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a reliable 6-cylinder engine that's been upgraded with an electronic ignition system. The seller says the car runs great, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking at a classic like this. And with an automatic transmission, you'll be able to cruise down the road with ease. One unique feature of this Valiant is the Hurley-style shifter, which adds a bit of personality to the interior. It's the kind of detail that sets this car apart from your average classic. Now, there are a couple of things to keep in mind with this Valiant. The seller mentions that the odometer is broken, so the actual mileage is unknown. The ad says the car has 85,000 miles on it, but without a working odometer, it's hard to say for sure. That's definitely something to consider if you're serious about making an offer. The seller also notes that this Valiant was their daughter's high school car, which suggests that it's been a reliable and well-loved vehicle over the years. And with current registration through February 2025 and a clean California title, you shouldn't have any issues with paperwork if you decide to make this Valiant yours. Overall, this 1965 Plymouth Valiant seems like a really cool classic car. It's got a clean look, a reliable engine, and some unique features that make it stand out from the crowd. And at $6,500, it seems like a fair price for a vintage ride in good condition. 12. We've got an absolute stunner to talk about. A 1954 Dodge Regent that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $14,900 for this classic beauty, and let me tell you, it sounds like it's worth every penny. First things first, let's talk about the overall condition of this Regent. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition inside and out, which is incredibly impressive for a car that's almost 70 years old. They mention that there's no rust and no filler, which is a huge plus for any classic car. The paint job was done about 5 years ago, and it looks absolutely stunning in black. Under the hood, you'll find a flathead 6-cylinder engine paired with a manual transmission. This combination is a true classic, and it's sure to provide a driving experience that's both unique and engaging. The seller notes that the car runs and drives perfectly with no issues, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking at a vintage ride like this. But the impressive features don't stop there. The interior of this Regent has been given plenty of love and attention over the years. The seller mentions that it has a new headliner and new flooring, which suggests that it's been well maintained. The seats are also described as being in perfect condition, which is a real rarity for a car of this age. And with a new 6-volt battery, you know you won't have any issues starting it up. The exterior of this Regent is just as impressive as the interior. The seller notes that it has good white wall tires, which add to the classic look of the car. And with the car always being stored inside, you know that it's been protected from the elements over the years. Overall, this 1954 Dodge Regent seems like an absolute gem. It's got a stunning look, a classic drivetrain, and an interior that's been beautifully maintained. And with the seller describing it as being in excellent condition with no issues, it's the kind of car that you can feel confident about buying. 13. We've got a real treat for you, a 1966 Dodge Dart GT that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $10,750 for this classic beauty, and based on the description, it sounds like it could be a real gem. First things first, let's talk about the overall condition of this Dart GT. The seller describes it as being in very good condition, which is always a promising sign for a car that's over 50 years old. They mention that it's been an Eastern Washington car for its entire life until now, which suggests that it's been well protected from harsh weather and road conditions. Under the hood, you'll find a 225 slant 6 engine, which is a reliable and durable power plant that's known for its longevity. The seller even has the original order details and receipt for the car, which is a really cool piece of history to have. The exterior of this Dart GT looks absolutely stunning in blue. The paint job is described as being in excellent condition, which suggests that it's been well maintained over the years. And with the classic lines and styling of the Dart GT, this car is sure to turn heads wherever it goes. Now, there are a couple of things to keep in mind with this Dart GT. The the seller mentions that the odometer has rolled over, so the actual mileage is unknown. The ad says the car has 25,000 miles on it, but it's likely that it's actually 125,000 miles or more. That's definitely something to consider if you're serious about making an offer. The seller also doesn't provide a ton of details about the interior or the mechanical condition of the car. While they do say it's in very good condition overall, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making a purchase. Overall though, this 1966 Dodge Dart GT seems like a really cool classic car. It's got a great look, a reliable engine, and a clean title. And with the original order details and receipt included, it's got some really interesting history behind it. 14. We've got a real blast from the past to talk about. A 1982 AMC Eagle 4x4 wagon that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking $12,000 or best offer for this classic ride. And based on the description, it sounds like it could be a real gem. First things first, let's talk about the overall condition of this Eagle. The seller describes it as being in excellent condition, which is always a promising sign for a car that's over 40 years old. They mention that it has its original paint in a stunning yellow color, which suggests that it's been well maintained over the years. The interior of this Eagle also sounds like it's in great shape. The seller notes that it has a nice interior with a suede headliner, which adds a touch of luxury to this classic wagon. And with 121,000 original miles on the odometer, you know that this car has been around the block a few times, but still has plenty of life left in it. Under the hood, you'll find a reliable 6-cylinder engine that's paired with an automatic transmission. The seller mentions that the car runs well, which is always a good sign. And with its 4x4 drivetrain, this Eagle is ready to tackle any terrain or weather conditions that come its way. One of the really cool things about the AMC Eagle is that it was ahead of its time in many ways. It was one of the first mass-produced passenger cars to offer a full-time four-wheel drive system, which made it a popular choice for those who needed a reliable and capable vehicle for all seasons. And with its unique styling and versatile wagon body, the Eagle has become a cult classic among car enthusiasts. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making an offer. The seller doesn't provide a ton of details about the mechanical condition of the car, so it's important to do your due diligence and make sure everything checks out. Overall though, this 1982 AMC Eagle 4x4 wagon seems like a really cool and unique find. It's got a great look, a reliable drivetrain, and a clean title. And with the seller asking $12,000 or best offer, there may be some room for negotiation if you're serious about making this classic wagon yours. 15. We've got a real classic to talk about. A 1979 Buick LeSabre Limited that's up for sale on Craigslist. The seller is asking just $3,150 for this vintage ride, and based on the description, it sounds like it could be a real diamond in the rough. First things first, let's talk about the history of this LeSabre. According to the seller, it's a two-owner car that's been in the same family for nearly 35 years. The first owner was a school teacher who drove it for 52,000 miles, and then it was passed down to a conservative professional who drove it until retirement. That kind of ownership history is always a good sign, as it suggests that the car has been well cared for over the years. Under the hood, you'll find a 354-barrel engine paired with an automatic transmission. The seller notes that the engine starts right up and the transmission shifts smoothly, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're looking at a classic car like this. And with options like air conditioning, power windows, door locks, and a power driver's seat, this LeSabre was definitely well equipped for its time. The interior of this LeSabre sounds like it's in decent shape, with the seller noting that it has the usual ailments that you'd expect from a car of this age. But the real story here is the exterior. The seller admits that the car has spent the last couple of decades outside, which has taken its toll on the vinyl top and paint. The hood even had to be rattle can painted as a stopgap measure due to surface rust. But here's the thing. The seller also notes that the body is straight with no frame, pan, or body panel rust. That's a really important detail, as it suggests that this LeSabre has good bones and could be a great candidate for restoration. Of course, as with any used car purchase, it's always a good idea to get a thorough inspection from a trusted mechanic before making an offer. The seller does note that the air conditioning isn't working, but the system is fully intact and nothing has been disconnected except the belt. That's definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking to make this LeSabre a daily driver. Overall though, this 1979 Buick LeSabre Limited seems like a really cool find for the right buyer. It's got a great ownership history, a strong drivetrain, and a straight body that could be the perfect canvas for a restoration project. And at just $3,150, it's priced to sell. 16. We're diving into a classic beauty that's up for grabs on Craigslist, a 1983 Oldsmobile Delta 88. This gem is being offered at a price of $5,500. And let me tell you, it's quite a find. Now, I want to be straight with you. The seller claims that this Delta 88 is in great running condition, with only 94,000 original miles on the odometer. That's pretty impressive for a car that's nearly 4 decades old. The ad also mentions that it's an all-original car, which is music to the ears of any classic car lover. However, it's important to approach any used car purchase with a bit of caution. While the seller seems enthusiastic about the car's condition, it's always wise to have a trusted mechanic inspect the vehicle before making a final decision. After all, even the most well-maintained classic cars can have hidden issues that may not be apparent at first glance. That being said, if the car checks out and is indeed in the great shape the seller claims, this 1983 Oldsmobile Delta 88 could be a fantastic addition to any collection. With its clean title and automatic transmission, it's ready to hit the road and turn heads wherever it goes. So if you're in the market for a classic American ride with a bit of history behind it, this Delta 88 might just be the one for you. As always, do your due diligence, but don't let this opportunity pass you by if it's the real deal. 17. We've got a real treat for you. A stunning 1965 Ford Falcon Ranchero that's up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is being offered at $12,500, and let me tell you, it's a head-turner. First off, let's talk about the condition of this Ranchero. The seller mentions that the body and paint are in good shape, with no chips or dents to speak of. That's always a great sign for a classic car like this. Plus, all the stainless and chrome accents are said to be in great condition, which really adds to the overall appeal of this ride. Under the hood, you'll find a 289 V8 engine paired with an automatic transmission, which should provide plenty of power and a smooth driving experience. The seller also notes that it's equipped with an Autolite 4-barrel carburetor, power steering, and disc front brakes, which are all great features to have. Now, I want to be completely honest with you. The seller does mention that while the Ranchero runs, it does need some carburetor work. This is something to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer. It's always a good idea to factor in any potential repairs or maintenance when budgeting for a classic car purchase. Aesthetically, this Ranchero is sitting pretty on a set of 15 American mags, which really complement the yellow paint job nicely. It's the kind of car that's sure to attract attention wherever it goes. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Ford Falcon Ranchero with a clean title and a lot of potential, this could be a great option. Just be sure to do your due diligence, have a mechanic check it out, and factor in any necessary repairs before making a final decision. 18. We've got an interesting find on Craigslist, a 1983 Oldsmobile 98 Regency. This classic sedan is being offered at $4,500, and it definitely has some unique features worth discussing. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller mentions that the car is in good shape overall, which is promising. However, they do note that the vinyl roof has some hail damage, and the inside roof liner is unattached. These are things to keep in mind if you're considering making an offer, as they may require some repairs or restoration work. Now let's dive into the specs. This Regency is powered by an 8-cylinder engine and features a rear-wheel drive setup. The seller states that it starts and runs very well, which is always a good sign for a classic car. They even mention that it could be used as a daily driver in its current condition. One thing to note is that the odometer is broken, so the actual mileage is unknown. The ad states that the car has been in storage for the last 25 years, but has been driven at least 20+ miles every year. This suggests that it may have been well maintained during its storage period. The seller also mentions that the car has a clean Colorado title and that its last long ride was from Connecticut to Colorado in 2016. This indicates that the car is capable of handling longer trips, which is a plus. However, there are a few things that may need attention. The ad notes that the speedometer needs a cable, the AC might need work or a recharge, and there have been recent replacements of the gas lines and water pump. These are all things to consider when evaluating the overall condition and potential maintenance needs of the car. On a positive note, the seller suggests that this Oldsmobile 98 Regency could be a great show car. With its original features and classic styling, it certainly has the potential to turn heads at car shows and events. Overall, if you're in the market for a unique classic sedan with a clean title and some interesting history, this 1983 Oldsmobile 98 Regency might be worth a closer look. Just be sure to factor in any potential repairs or restoration work when considering the asking price. 19. We're taking a closer look at a 1985 Cadillac DeVille that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. This classic luxury sedan is being offered at a price of $3,600, and there are some interesting details to discuss. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller states that this DeVille is in excellent shape, which is always a great sign for a car that's nearly 4 decades old. They also mention that it's an all-original vehicle from South Dakota, which suggests that it may have been well maintained throughout its life. Now, let's dive into the specs. Under the hood, you'll find an 8-cylinder engine, which is pretty standard for a Cadillac of this era. The car also features a front-wheel drive setup and an automatic transmission, which should provide a smooth and comfortable driving experience. The odometer reading is listed at 125,152 miles, which is relatively low for a car of this age. This could indicate that the car has been lightly used or well cared for over the years. Aesthetically, this DeVille is sporting a silver paint job, which is a classic color choice for a luxury sedan like this. The seller doesn't provide any details about the interior condition, but given the excellent overall condition mentioned, it's likely that the inside is in good shape as well. One thing to keep in mind is that while the seller claims the car is in excellent condition, it's always a good idea to have a trusted mechanic inspect any used car before making a purchase. This can help identify any potential issues or maintenance needs that may not be immediately apparent. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic Cadillac DeVille with a clean title and an all-original setup, this 1985 model might be worth a closer look. The low mileage and excellent reported condition make it an attractive option for any enthusiast looking to add a vintage luxury car to their collection. 20. We've got a real gem on our hands, a 1978 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz that's up for sale on Craigslist. This classic luxury coupe is being offered at $9,500, and let me tell you, it's got some serious style. First off, let's talk about the condition. The seller mentions that this Eldorado is in good shape overall, which is impressive for a car that's over 4 decades old. They do note that it's not perfect, but that's to be expected for a vehicle of this age. The important thing is that it runs and drives great, according to the ad. Now, let's dive into the specs. Under the hood, you'll find a powerful 8-cylinder engine, which is exactly what you want in a classic Cadillac. The car also features a front-wheel drive setup and an automatic transmission, which should provide a smooth and effortless driving experience. One of the standout features of this Eldorado is the low mileage. With only 66,000 miles on the odometer, this car has been lightly used over its lifetime. That's a big plus for any classic car enthusiast looking for a well-preserved vehicle. The seller also mentions that everything works on this Cadillac, with the exception of the clock. That's a minor issue that shouldn't deter any serious buyers. Plus, the car comes equipped with cold AC and a power sunroof, which are great features to have, especially in a classic luxury car like this. Aesthetically, this Eldorado is rocking a white paint job, which is a timeless color choice for a car of this caliber. The seller doesn't provide any details about the interior condition, but given the overall good condition mentioned, it's likely that the inside is in solid shape as well. Now, I want to be completely transparent with you. The seller does mention that the price is negotiable and that cash talks. This suggests that there may be some wiggle room on the asking price for serious buyers. However, they also state that they're not interested in payments or trades. So keep that in mind if you're considering making an offer. It's also worth noting that the car is currently listed on eBay, so if you're interested, you might want to check out the auction and consider placing a bid. Overall, if you're in the market for a classic 1978 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz with a clean title and some serious style, this listing is definitely worth a closer look. Just be sure to do your due diligence, have a mechanic inspect the car, and factor in any potential maintenance or repair needs before making a final decision.